Ready.
Go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Fast Charging with B&B. I'm Brian.
And I'm Bear with the slow computer going today.
Of course, of course. And yeah, we've got some news. I don't know what to tell you, but some stuff has happened in the past week, and we've got some headlines, and we figured why not share them with you good folks.
While we talk about it and make fun of some things and look at things, some things very seriously and see what we can interpret from it.
For sure, for sure. I'm trying a new headset this week. Hopefully it gives a little better sound on both sides. You can let us know. I've got one on my side saying it all sounds good. We'll find out from your folks momentarily. But why don't we just talk about it?
Why don't we? All right. So, you want to talk about Honda?
Yeah. Honda's thinking about reviving the NSX as an EV. And why not? Why not? It was their marquee car for a long time in the 90s. And when they brought it back recently as an ICE car, it was too slow. You know, everyone else had moved on to 1,000 horsepower, and they were still at, 500-600, which is not going to get you there.
Yeah, well, it's a good-looking car. But so this would be like the third revival, is that right?
Second, yeah, this would be the third.
Okay, and is the one that they have now a hybrid? I heard something that it might have been, or
I don't think it was. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but making a pretty looking sports car render is easy. But I think they've got to do something, and what they're doing now is kind of nothing, and that's kind of not working. And especially with the EV transition coming, yeah, it's going to be critical to get something out there.
Well, what does Honda have out as far as an EV?
Oh, they've got something. Honda Fit, maybe? Is that an EV?
Mm-hmm. I don't think that they have anything.
Right now they don't.
That's not plug-in
Honda
or hybrid.
EV. 2024 Honda Prologue, fully electric. Yeah.
Okay.
So
my calendar says that it's still 2022.
Oh, there was the Honda E they had, but I don't know if that came to the U.S. market.
That must have taken a whole lot of imagination to come up with that name.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So
Andrew Jameson says the Jazz is hybrid, but I'm not even sure what the Jazz is.
No. So yeah, get with the times, guys. The mandates in Europe are already set in stone. The mandates in the U.S. are coming quick. And so goes California. As goes California, so goes the nation in terms of auto standards. So it's get busy living or get busy dying. Right, Red?
Yeah. All right.
Don't do that. Hey, police car, Michigan State University. How cool is that?
That looks pretty cool.
It looks great.
Yeah.
And every week we're seeing more and more police EVs because they kind of work.
Yeah, and I like the look of it. I'm sure it does good. Just a reminder, those cars start off at about 247 miles of range on the minimum. They probably got something that has the bigger pack and probably all-wheel drive for a little bit extra speed, though it is the State University Police, so they don't need a whole bunch of range because they're just patrolling the campus. So that's a really good fit.
And most cities, a patrol car is not going to be doing hundreds of miles a day. The rural ones for sure. But also, a lot of the reason they're gassing up 3 times a day is because they idle 24 hours. We did get a comment from Nigel saying that the EV Honda, available in the UK, is 40 grand and has a range of 100 miles. That's a compliance car is what that is.
100 whole miles, right?
I guess, yeah. I don't think they do hay miles.
Yeah, they might.
They might. If you think the U.S. uses weird systems of measure, boy, the U.K. is slightly ahead of us in the peculiarity department.
Yeah. So speaking of peculiarity, big word for me, Vermont in their gas vehicle buyback program.
Yeah.
I think this is a little peculiar. Peculiar.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for cars that are over 10 years old.
Right.
They'll give you $3,000 for the car, which I think you might be able to get anywhere. You could probably get $3,000 or more for a 10-year-old car.
Right.
I mean, it would have to be a real crap burger in order not to get $3,000 for it. But you also have to make less than $50,000 in order to qualify. If you do, then you get $4,000 for the car, and if you make $100,000, you're going to get $2,500.
As I'm reading it, those are separate programs. The $4,000 is just to buy the car, as opposed to the $3,000, which is the cash for clunkers price. So if your trade-in is worth less than $3,000 somehow, which I guess it could be, I can see this being abused where people go out and buy a $1,000 car that just barely runs and just drag it in, fire it up, prove it's a car, get a couple grand for free. For cars
I don't know if that will work on the cash for clunkers. They had a rule that you had to have owned the car for like 6 months.
Oh, good. Smart.
So if they're smart, they would have done the same here.
Yeah, I imagine they would have modeled it after cash for clunkers, so that would be... But, a lot of people have dead-ish cars in their yard. Great, get rid of them. Fine. So, I don't know. I would say every bit helps, but the demand is such that EVs are not having trouble selling at the moment.
Yeah, and that all goes back to things like we've talked about with the incentives for the EVs, is that there is not a demand issue, there's a supply issue. But the nice thing about the IRA, not that I'm not a big government spender guy, but is that it is now forcing companies like Kia, we talked about last week, is opening up a plant in the United States, which therefore down the line it helps people in America get jobs and brings that money into the United States. So that's going to have a positive effect. The rebates, well, I guess that's all how it trickles down in that sense.
Yeah, and they're not doing it in my state, so I guess, great, let someone else be the guinea pigs. Why not? Any other price issues with electric cars?
Well, speaking of guinea pigs, these cars really look like guinea pigs.
So you and I are looking at two different links because I hit a paywall somehow. But you're seeing...
I'm hitting a paywall, or was this? No, I'm hitting a paywall on another one from this. This is the under $5,000 Chinese EV, the Wuling.
Just call it a mini.
The mini guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
They raised the price, and they've been suffering in sales. Apparently, that price for that $5,000 mini was missing pretty much all the features in order to get to that, including air conditioning, which might be okay in some places. They may not be so dependent on AC as at least I am, because you can't get into a car when it's 110 degrees here, and you need AC for 8 months of the year. So, maybe there's places in China that this works, and that's fine. But yeah, they were very, very limited as far as options, so they've had to raise the price already about 10%, give or take $400 to $500, and they're suffering a little bit on the sales for that.
So the link I found was from March 24th, which said effective immediately it was going up by $1,255. So apparently this New York Times article that just came out is a bit behind the curve. So we'll see how that impacts sales. Because
Are you on a New York Times article?
Weren't you? No, I'm on a CNEV Post article.
No, the New York Times article was...
something else. You were in Asian Nikkei.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hit a paywall there. So but the idea is, this is At $5,000, I'd consider buying something like this. But as you increase the price, fewer people would. 6, 7, 8 grand? I don't know.
Being that I bought the Tesla Cyberquad for $2,200, I guess I would buy one of these for 5,000. But I would fit on both of them about the same way. Mm-hmm. So this would need to have a sunroof, maybe a removable roof.
They do have apparently a convertible version that is coming soon or has hit the market, but I'm not sure. But
I would take a Sawzall to it.
yeah. So then we've got, are we on the Amazon one next?
That's right.
Yeah.
Amazon, the Rivian EDV. Apparently, the Amazon employees are happy with that. Of course, that's a report put out by Amazon. I can't see them really bashing them.
They're also happy with the working conditions.
Yeah. And that they can get paid on a daily basis.
And that they don't have to be at their station 35 minutes after they got to the security checkpoint without pay.
Yeah. So on this EDV, we didn't include a link for this, but I posted out on Twitter 2 days ago. I was driving down one of my roads around my house, and there was one of these Rivian EDVs. And we did a quick little video of it. We posted up on Twitter at Bears Workshop, and you guys can go ahead and take a look at that. But we're not in a big metro area. I mean, we're 30 miles away from Phoenix, but it was just interesting to see that they are testing them in Phoenix, and they made it to the outskirts. I'm not sure where the nearest hub is that this vehicle would go back to, but it probably had at least a 20 or 30 mile drive back to the hub of where it originated. So that was kind of interesting to see him just driving around. And I looked at the guy driving, and he looked happy.
Well, they put the hubs in the suburbs too, but even still, it's going to have a busy day. Mm-hmm. Anyhow you slice it.
Yes. So it was cool. It was big, very big. A lot of, I could stand in there, probably walk around, maybe do like half a jumping jack and not hit my head. So definitely a big vehicle. And you watch the video and you'll see that I am 100% right. It is big.
Yeah. And it looks nice. And if, I've heard very few reports from it, but I haven't heard any bad ones. So I guess that counts for something. I had
heard a bad one like a year ago that when you turned on the AC, it reduced the range by half.
Oh, that's right. We did see that.
Yeah, but I think that that was a while ago, and that was when it was still in testing. So.
Yeah.
But
let's get back to China, huh?
Yeah, let's go back to China.
Do you know they're going to extend tax exemption for new energy vehicles throughout 2023?
Yeah, and it looks like is that just getting rid of a sales tax?
That's exactly what it is. Yep. They're exempt from vehicle purchase tax, which, and I don't know what the tax rate is, but I would guess between 8 and 20%.
I don't know, because there's one thing that says NEV customers will save about 10,000 yen, or the equivalent of 1,450 euros.
Oh, so it might only be part of the purchase tax. I'm not super keen on international taxes.
Oh, well, let me tell you, I'm pretty well schooled on them. And I know nothing.
Great.
I know nothing.
Works for me, man. That works for me. But
Yeah.
The idea is these were set to expire, and China is really pushing to clean up their air, and it appears to be working.
Yeah, well, you know what this all goes back to? China's going to eat our lunch.
They absolutely
because they are so focused on getting off of oil and natural gas that they are going to conquer the world without having to fire a shot. I completely believe that. I know it's a little political, but it is a way of getting control over things by not being subservient to other people's energy supplies.
Yeah.
And energy independence is what they're shooting for by doing this. I think they don't care so much about the environment, they care about energy independence.
I think that would be probably a correct statement. They they will happily pillage the land, as it were, to achieve their goals. Yeah. Well, that's all the news we got this week, you guys.
Yeah, Brian's got to go to the bathroom or something.
No, I'm good. Now we're at the paywalled one.
I'm sitting on the pot right now, so I'm always good.
Oh, that's nice. I should get one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very lazy boy. For China's auto market, electric isn't the future, it's the present.
Yes, and everybody likes presents.
I love presents.
Yeah. So this goes back to what I just said. They are heavily pushing electric vehicles with over 300 EV makers now. And the last time I said how many they had, it was like 161. That was probably like 30 episodes ago when I saw a number. And now it looks like more than 300. Anywhere from $5,000 cars, which we just talked about, to things that can rival Tesla and German automakers.
Yeah.
And they're going to rule the world.
Yeah, and I believe that the U.S. automakers, and Sandy Munro has said this from Munro and Associates, the U.S. automakers think that the threat is coming from Europe and Japan and Korea, but it's not. It's coming from China. Once Chinese cars, for a long time, you couldn't sell Chinese cars in Europe. People wouldn't buy them, and now they do all day, every day. And that sentiment will eventually reach the U.S., and when it does, the big three are going to have some problems.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm proud of this, but I do own a car made in China.
Which one?
My Polestar.
Oh, the Polestar, yeah.
Yeah, that was made in China. I got to address what JJ just said.
Sure.
Why is Bear so bullish when China government spends money, but so critical of the USA spending money? I don't know why you think I'm bullish of China spending money. I think this is them taking over the world, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's also Chinese money, they don't have my tax money. USA, why am I critical of them spending money? Because they spend it in, it goes back to the $5,000 hammer or the $2,000 toilet seat thing. Everything is overspent.
Right.
And
If you're not spending the money wisely, why spend it at all? China, by creating these incentives, are allowing those new 150 companies you mentioned the opportunity to get a foothold in the market. $3,000 for a used car in Vermont is not going to make or break anyone's business.
Right.
That's my thought.
And part of this also has to deal with Taiwan. To get really political, Russia invades Ukraine. Everybody stops buying oil from them, or they stop giving. They cut them off as financially as they can. If China is no longer dependent on oil from other countries or any type of energy from other countries, and they go do something in Taiwan, what is there for us to stop? How do we stop them? Do we stop buying stuff from them? But everything that we buy from them is critical for our everyday life. So it kind of puts us in a bind if that ever comes to pass. So this also has an effect on their long-term Taiwan plans, in my opinion.
Well, they used to say, when dollars cross borders, troops don't. But we've seen some exceptions to that, haven't we?
Yeah, there are still people buying oil from Russia that are, like Germany, buying natural gas from Russia. Could you imagine World War II if that war was going on and we were like getting resources from Japan? Japan's like, oh, you need steel? Yeah, we'll sell you some steel.
No
That's
problem,
no
Japan,
problem.
and we'll send you back some oil that you need to refine for your aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, but that's the situation like Germany got themselves into by becoming dependent on Russian natural gas.
So we'll see what happens. Germany has apparently stockpiled enough natural gas to cover 90% of the predicted cold weather needs this winter. So they're in a better position. And the Polish-built gas pipeline from Norway, I believe, somewhere up there, was completed way ahead of schedule. So Russia really shot themselves in the foot on this one. But let's talk charging.
Charging. Yeah, hey, isn't this fast charging? Fast charging?
Sometimes. Rivian's fast charging network expands. Other automakers need to pay attention.
Yeah, this is the first of our BS articles for the day.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, Rivian's fast charging network expands. Other people need to pay attention, except for Tesla. Goes through here, it says Tesla's doing really good, and Rivian is trying to follow their example. Now, Rivians can be charged on any charger that's not Tesla. So they have that existing network out there already, but Rivian is just hammering this new charging network. Do you know how many charging stations they have?
Well, I know they announced it was going to be 600 over a year ago, so let me guess, 900?
Yeah, they got 6.
Oh, I was so close.
You were so close. So that's what this article is based on, the fact that they've got 6 of them installed, and other automakers need to pay attention. I don't think automakers need to be doing this at all. I don't think there's any need for Rivian to be making an additional charging network. Now, if they wanted to chip in and say, hey, EA or whoever it is, we want a charging station here, we'd be willing to get together with you on something. But these are just Rivian supercharging stations, and it talks about how there's a lot of work that goes into getting a charging station built. And there is, between renting the land, permits, getting the equipment there. So yeah, they've got 6 of them. And
It's as complicated a logistical challenge as building and distributing cars or anything really, because like you said, permits, the land rights, the connecting to the grid. There's a lot of moving pieces, and if companies like Electrify America are struggling with it, a small division within Rivian is clearly going to have results kind of like these.
Yeah. So this article about other automakers need to pay attention is kind of ridiculous. I think automakers need to either pick one or the other with Tesla and the CCS, but just pick one, and you know what? Let it go from there. I think the market will pick up on it. Where either you're going to have EA installing them at what used to be gas stations, or they will be both for a while. But no, I don't think Rivian needs to be making charging stations.
No, although Jason did point out, Rivian can cash in on some of the charging incentives, and maybe they can. I don't know if they're large enough to meaningfully impact Rivian's ability to actually roll them out. And because even if they're big, if you're grossly inefficient, it's going to be a problem. And again, it just feels like something. I mean, I applaud it. Great. I hope everyone is able to use them and not just Rivians, because otherwise that's perfectly silly, considering they're already using a standardized charger. But we shall see. Right.
Yeah. So, and we were talking about EA having so much trouble. Apparently, they're not smart enough to realize how to stop making mistakes. So Electrify America just made electric vehicle charging and a lot more confusing.
What? How?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, what system were they using before?
Well, if you wanted to charge, you would pull up at a station and it would say 150 kilowatts or 350 kilowatts.
Well, that could mean anything.
Yeah, it could mean 150 kilowatts or 350
See,
kilowatts.
now you're back into the technical jargon, Bear. I can't follow it. Can you dumb it down for me with their new and improved, much, much better system?
I sure can. Would you like to charge at hyper speed or ultra speed?
What?
Ultra or hyper?
Those aren't real metrics. They went from numerical to arbitrary hype words.
Yeah. because that obviously just straightens everything out, and that will now make their 350 kilowatt charger go from 50 to 350, or I don't know, because I'll get 50 kilowatts from that 350 kilowatt charger, and I'm just like, they're lying. They put a sticker on that says 350, and that's what they're calling it.
So let me get this straight. You pull up to the Electrify America station. You
Yep.
find that it's out of service. You find another Electrify America station.
Yeah. And JJ's trying to guess why they did this, because of gas specs, and they did say that they did this because of gas specs, because you have super and some stations have ultra. I don't know any gas station that has hyperfuel. I think they use that in Spaceballs.
Racing is the next octane up.
Yeah, but it's not hyper.
Depends how much of it you drink, I guess.
What if they just renamed it to like Plaid? Like the 350 was called Plaid, and the 150 was called Ludicrous, and anything below that was like long range.
Well, do you remember what they call the faster Porsche Taycan? Turbo.
Oh.
They actually call it turbo. Maybe it's like the button on my old 48633. Most useless button in the world.
Yeah. So anyway, EA, you guys still suck.
But you know what's the most useful button in the world? And I encourage all of you, it's the thumbs up. Oh, and the subscribe. Those are useful.
My, look what you did there. Wow.
Yeah, I'm in a mood today. Oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but now we're going to need more juice.
Yeah. We are. And what are we going to do about that?
I think we're going to keep installing solar. Did you hear that last year was a record for solar install? Something like, well, what is it? A third of all, what was it? 25% of all the solar panels in the U.S. were installed in the last year.
That is an incredible number.
That is a
Very
good number.
impressive.
It's a good number. We still need far, far more. And I know, especially on social media, there's a lot of people who are huge into saying what we need is nuclear. The problem with nuclear is the levelized cost is very high, and it takes 20 years to deploy. We don't have time. Private investment won't touch nuclear because of all the risks of it not being completed. And so you end up with people who are forced into it, and you end up with, with plants like this. If you decide, I'm going to build this ginormous solar plant, and a quarter of the way through it you run out of money, who cares? Just turn it on.
Yeah, you still have everything in place. And one of the other problems with nuclear is that when you start, if someone was to start the process to build one, there's going to be 1,000 groups that are going to come out of the woodwork putting down lawsuits trying to stop you.
Yes, but on social media, again, people love to say, well, that's all these NIMBYs. It's really not. It's the fossil fuel guys. It's their competition. Because you and I don't get to vote on what my next power plant is. That's not up to me. That's up to the politicians. And lobbyists be lobbying. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones calling the shots. And there really is no big nuclear the way there is big oil and big gas and big coal. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
3 with inflation.
Oh yeah, that's your 3.5 cents. You make sure you get the number right, because you're not getting that opinion for 3 cents. It's definitely 3.5 cents. All right, and you know what? These also bring jobs. Also, these things actually do need to be maintained. I've got on my never-ending solar panel story on my house. I actually spoke to LG today, and they are sending me a battery, and it's going to be here in 2 weeks. And then I have to call them, let them know, and they will find someone to install it for me. So it's a 200-pound battery, by the way, 9.6 kilowatts, and it weighs 200 pounds.
Wow. What are they using? Double A's?
I don't know. I didn't ask them. Rechargeable triple A's, I think. And then since I had solar on the brain, I went and looked at my system today, and I found that one of my inverters is dead. So there are people that will have to fix this, and it is jobs. It's not destroying other jobs without replacing new ones. So I've got someone coming out to install it. That's someone working. Then of course it gets shipped. The battery has to get shipped back. That's money for the shipping company, and then someone's going to have to come out and replace my inverter. That I hope to God is still under some sort of warranty. Otherwise, I need $5,000 in super chats to get that taken care of.
Yeah, because it certainly died under warranty. It may have expired since then. David, who is at Digital Blade Canada, made a money pit joke and said 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I just love that LG is shipping it and has no idea when it's getting there.
Yeah, they literally told me 2 weeks, and it's. Money Pit, great, yeah, great movie. But
documentary, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no kidding.
And for that matter,
that's what they should have on HGTV instead of all like the people successfully rebuilding their homes and doing whatever they do with them. But they should just be like, well, this is not going to be done for 2 weeks, and just play the Money Pit on HGTV.
It could have also been a reference to the original. The movie where Arnold went to Mars. What was that called?
Total Recall.
Total Recall. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Did you know that offshore wind is 125 times better for taxpayers in the UK compared to oil and gas? Is that in the UK or is that generally? Well, I think that's just generally. Oh, nice. 125% better.
Yeah, and I am a little curious about these prices, though. I'll be honest with you. I read the article, and it says that oil and gas are leasing an acre for $47 an acre.
Oil and gas? Oh, I believe it. I believe it. The oil and gas. See, the lease is only a small part of the energy. There's also royalties they generally would pay on the extraction, which is where the real money comes in.
But that's not included in this number, is it?
I don't know. Because
Well,
125 times seems a little crazy.
Yeah. Maybe there's no royalties paid from the wind lease.
Well, I would imagine there's no royalties because they're not using anything up. The wind is not a finite resource until
they are not depleting the resources from the ground.
Yeah, until the sun expires, but we've got a little while left on that, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Hey Brian, when this video is over, you should come back and watch my video at this moment and look at where the screen froze for you.
Oh no!
So you were making a kind of face.
That's
for about 3 seconds.
That's just my face, man. It's just my face.
You might want to rub that one out.
What?
That's what it looked like you might have been doing.
So it's all good news on solar and batteries, right? Grid storage, that's all going great, right?
Unless the little Tesla arsonist. Well, I don't know if this was an arsonist or not.
I doubt it. I assume it's a secured facility, but yeah, Tesla Megapack caught fire.
I thought it was one of those Ukrainian drones dropping a little bomb.
My gosh, I hope every Russian soldier sees footage of those because there is no rest in Ukraine.
Yeah, they need to close their hatches because I saw one today where they actually dropped it in through the hatch into the tank.
Yeah, there's not a lot of coming back from that.
No.
So this is probably just a system failure that can be addressed and corrected. I'd like to point out that other forms of energy always burn because that's how they generate the power. So maybe that's what they were doing, is generating some extra special electricity.
They're trying something different. I'm a little curious now if these Megapacks, since they come in these almost shipping container size boxes, if they have any sort of fire protection in them to...
It appears the answer is no.
Well, maybe they will in the future.
Maybe they will. Maybe,
I have a feeling if you used it, if it engaged, your system would be destroyed.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yes. Yeah. Maybe a drone.
Yeah.
Maybe a drone dropped an entire arsonist.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any truth to that fire at Giga Berlin of the cardboard, that it could have been an arsonist?
Absolutely
that went in
could
there?
have. Absolutely could have. I don't think it was. There are a lot of ways for cardboard to accidentally catch fire. But it could have been one of those very real environmentalists that we've seen so much of in Berlin.
Drone.
Maybe. Anybody else doing some microgrids or anything?
Yeah, Australia has a huge new nickel mine, and they are powering it solely by wind power.
Yeah.
And which I would think that they would almost have to, being where they're located in Western Australia. I can't imagine that getting power out there would be very easy. So they took the option of creating a wind farm and backing it up with batteries, so they can generate electricity when they can, and then store it for when they can't generate it.
But what do they
That
need
seems like a
power
really
out
good
there
move.
in the middle of nowhere? Certainly there can't be anything out there.
Well, there's no people, but there's a lot of nickel. A lot of
Nickel.
nickels lying around.
A lot of loose nickels and copper.
Yeah.
So nickels and pennies, I suppose. Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but electric vehicles require a lot of copper, and depending on the vehicle, nickel as well.
Did you say Nikola or Nichols?
Nickel as well.
It sounded like Nikola.
Nikola as well. Yeah. And by the way, the LFPs don't use nickel. So, and that is over half of, probably, if we're going by sheer wheel count, probably over half the EVs made in the world are already nickel and cobalt free. If we're including those Wuling minis, I think those are LFP batteries, which would make sense.
Well, they're cheaper, so
They're
would be.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
William wants us to comment on Tesla Energy in Australia. I don't know all that much about it, except all I know is that Tesla came in, put in a lot of megapacks, and has really made a huge difference for Australia and the blackouts or the brownouts that they used to have, because now they can store energy for when they have high demand.
I think William is referring to the rumor this week that there would be a new factory in Australia. And the Australian authorities are under the impression, they said, well, Tesla said they want a factory on every continent, and we're a continent, technically. So the government officials have decided that means Tesla will build a factory. Now, I could see them building a battery factory because they've got the materials, they've got the engineering know-how.
They can make them a tiny little factory.
Yeah. But they don't. Their entire domestic auto market is only, I think, 1.6 million a year. So that's not necessarily going to be enough to get it, to justify a gigafactory. They might get a pico factory or a kilo factory, but not a.
Maybe they'll get like a mineral refining factory.
Yeah.
JJ just gave me a super chat for getting
nice.
you to say the N word.
Well, I
you,
still
JJ.
don't know why he harasses me as if I have a problem with Nikola. Because, I mean, I know they have a problem with me, but it's the beef is entirely one-sided, I assure you.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. We're doing pretty good on time, but I still think we should talk more about batteries and minerals. In Chile, the desert, there lies vast reserves of lithium, key for electric car batteries.
Yes, they have these great big plains of salt, whatever,
Yeah.
that look like snowdrifts, as they call them.
Yeah.
And they just sitting there right at the top of the surface, and there's a lot of it. They've increased from 22,000 tons to 84,000 tons over the last 6 years. So they are going to be making some money selling the land.
And what they're saying is, hey, keep demanding it, we'll keep increasing production. There are, steps to it where you have to get more. You can't just grab more and have it. You have to have the, some kind of equipment. There are capital investments. Also, there's an article I read earlier this week. I didn't think to grab it about the lithium in Utah or Nevada. I think it's in Utah, maybe, where there's a huge deposit. They're just waiting for permission to grab it. And they've only explored 1% of the area that they believe has lithium, meaning there could be 100 times more of it. But there's certainly more. The only question is how much. So if anyone tells you lithium is the bottleneck or that it's so finite, it is not a rare mineral at all, a rare element. There's plenty.
Yeah, I'm going to start checking in my backyard because I bet you I'll find some lithium.
And why not make the batteries?
Medicine cabinet.
And why not make why not make the batteries too? And the short answer is batteries are really hard to make. They're engineering and equipment intensive, and setting up a battery factory costs billions. And then you'd have to ship it all the way from Chile. But I guess if you're shipping the lithium anyway. But there's only, I've got the math in front of me somewhere, but there's very little lithium. It's something like, I can just look. I've got it in front of me, something like 20 kilos per car. Here it is, 12 kilograms of lithium per car. So not...
And what is that in pounds? That's not a lot.
About 25, something like that.
25 pounds?
Yeah, something like that. It's a very small amount. As opposed to shipping an entire pack, which you could probably only get, 4 or 5 to a double pallet? That's not an effective use of shipping. So,
yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they'll get Giga Chile and they'll provide for South America.
Yeah. This article actually does go on saying that if you remove all this groundwater to get the lithium out of the mines, it's going to make the desert out there hotter and drier. Well,
yeah.
So there's anti-lithium mining people. So,
and I wonder who they are and what their interest is, because I'm sure it's noble.
Yeah, one of the unintelligent comments: with so much pressure from the world to produce more lithium, the price is going to be paid by Chile's environment.
Yes, look at all these trees that will be devastated. Jeff...
Maybe there's a lithium scorpion that will die off.
Jeff wanted to know if I'll be doing a live stream for AI Day 2 on Friday, and I will. That will be on my main channel a little bit before 5 p.m. Pacific, and I've got a couple special guests who might pop by who know some things that I do not, which would be great.
Certainly wouldn't be me then.
Yeah.
Last time I watched that AI thing, I just really got confused.
Glossed over, like me?
Oh, I had a headache for like 6 days. And I was popping that lithium, trying to get it to go away. I realized that lithium was the wrong thing for that.
I didn't have a headache, but what I had lasted longer than 4 hours, so I had to consult a physician. So, let's see here.
Wow. AI did that to you?
No, but... did you know that Toyota...
Hey, Brian, you want to see my neurons move for you?
Toyota cuts production plan because, nobody can get chips. Did you know that?
I was in the supermarket today, and there was like bags of chips everywhere. I don't know if these guys are looking in the right places.
Considering how good quality Toyota's electric car is, those are probably the ones they used in it. Yeah, they're cutting production guidance for October by 100,000 units.
That is quite the cut there, but they are also, don't forget, going to still make 800,000 vehicles in October, and that is very impressive. Maybe not over the long run, and you don't really want to lose 100,000 units, but they're at the top of needs on the supply chain because of how many vehicles that they're producing.
But you'd think they would also be the buyer of choice to always take care of that guy. But who knows, man? But yeah, they are on pace, they believe, to make 9.7 million Toyota and Lexus vehicles, which would explain why they're so complacent when it comes to EVs.
Yeah, because that's a money making machine there.
Yeah. Jason Rogers, in all caps, Buzz Forks. That's what it is. That's the name of it. I'm convinced. But they're probably the only ones who are having chip shortage, right? Or part shortage, you think?
No. There's got to be others, like Ford.
What? As many as 45,000 Fords can't be sold because they're missing parts. You had a personal story about that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got my Mustang Mach-E that's on order. God, I hate calling that a Mustang. My Mach-E that's on order. On the order sheet that I have online when I go to check on it, it now says they've taken off $450 because the parking assist is not going to be there, which means that is a shortage of the chip, and they're just taking it off the package, and they valued it at $450, which to me is fantastic because I never in my life have used a parking assist on any car I've ever owned. So because of that, it's gonna actually. I've had this happen on the two Chrysler Pacificas that I bought new earlier this year. On the MSRP on the Moroni, it listed it was a negative $500 because they took off something that they didn't have a chip for. Unfortunately, that something was for the remote access to the car, where you could like call for help, and that is also needed. Like if I wanted to remotely unlock the car from my phone, I can't do it because that chip was not there. That I would have paid $500 for.
Right. And you didn't get to negotiate
it's literally
the discount. No. Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, it was literally on the Moroni, and it said negative $515 or whatever it is. They knew they didn't have it from the factory, and so they just sent it out without it, and then just took it off the cost. It's great because they actually could have just left it on there and said, "Screw you guys,
tough luck."
It's not there. Yeah, but they did give money back for that, and that's what Mustang is doing.
The real critical thing for Ford, the real critical thing for Ford is that it's 40 to 45,000 of the large pickups and SUVs, which, for those scoring along at home, is where they make all their money.
Yes.
So that's
they've
problematic.
got some big markups on that. And so do you think it's chips, or do you think it's maybe emblems? Did you lose control of something?
No, I didn't.
You were thinking about AI Day, weren't you?
I just realized that I've been using this microphone with you when I thought I was using this one.
That's why earlier when you moved it closer, it didn't get any louder.
That's why. It turns out that Ford ran out of blue oval badges and couldn't ship finished cars? What are you guys doing?
Do you think maybe if they just took the blue off? Because anyone who's ever owned a Ford that has that emblem on the front, typically on a truck, knows that those emblems fade and peel within 4 or 5 years, and turn into nothing.
Well,
I've had numerous trucks that were silver on the front.
I will tell you that if a car doesn't have that logo, I'm more likely to buy it. I've rented Explorers many times, and I've loved them, but I would not want to have one after the warranty expires. Just my...
Is there a story behind that, or is that...
No, just I've known too many people who had Fords that became problematic. Not so much with the pickups. The people I've known who had the pickups had great luck, but in terms of other vehicles, I know one time in the 90s I was looking at cars, and there were a ton of Explorers that were not very old for $4,000 or $5,000, and I asked around, and apparently it's because the suspension was they had a problem with suspension.
What year is this?
90s, mid 90s.
Oh yeah, I don't think anything's changed since then.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're doing pretty good on time. Any news about about Nikola?
Yeah, I have been practicing my Nikola pronunciation off camera. I've been saying it, I don't know, constantly, but I keep on getting into that throat lozenge thing. Nikola, but I'm working through it. So this is kind of old news that got regurgitated because this came out like 2 weeks ago, but now all the news pages are just going, hey, oh my God, look at this. And I particularly liked this headline, so I chose this one. Nikola is recalling 93 examples of the Traby EV that we didn't know it had built. Okay, well,
So they didn't
I had
know.
known.
Yeah,
They didn't know.
They didn't know. That's. I don't know how much I'd want to brag about things I don't know.
Right,
But
right. Just
you-
because they're not aware of it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
But maybe they should be paying attention.
And also,
There's
Yeah.
a channel out there that often shows how many vehicles that they produced.
I don't believe that for a second. What's it called?
Nope. I think it's something like Deer's Workshop or something.
Yeah, Bull's
It was
Workshop.
Deer or maybe it was
Bear's Pork Chops.
pork. That's it.
Yeah.
because that makes sense.
So,
Deer's Pork Chops.
The good news is a Nikola employee first noticed it, and then they got it. They did some inspections. They came up with a fix, and they fixed it. And no humans were impacted. This wasn't. Nobody was injured, and it's fixed. And it was just an attachment on the B pillar for the seatbelt. It's not like the Buzzfork's wheels fallen off,
Yeah.
which
So-
is terrifying.
Yeah, so this is, it's really not that big of a deal, but there was articles out the kazoo. I actually have to go looking for articles on the Trevor Milton story, which I think is probably bigger news to me. But, so there was a couple of things over the last week. Mark Russell testified, Kim Brady testified. There was evidence that was put out by the prosecutors showing text messages between Mark Russell, Trevor Milton, and Kim Brady, with all of them going back and forth, and email correspondence, I believe, was included with that. Kim was telling Mark that Trevor needs to chill with what he's putting out there. There was conversations about what you're putting out there is a representation for the whole company. And when you say things like this because of what your position is, it's coming down as that is an official statement, and you can't be saying things like that. So they do have actual written evidence showing that Mark and Kim and other executives at Nikola were trying to get him to stop, and it ended up resulting in Mark and I believe Kim and I think someone else saying, if you don't step down, we're quitting. So that was kind of how that played out. And I've always said that Trevor Milton was fired. He did not step down. And that's kind of proof on the record that he was actually fired from his position. He was told to step down, or he was about to lose all of his executives.
Could you imagine losing the entire executive team at once? That'd be the end. That'd be the end.
Yeah, it would have absolutely been the end, and that was right around the Hindenburg time. And with everyone stepping down and Trevor left in charge, he'd be running around the place naked. It's mine. It's mine. And it just wouldn't have gone well at all.
No.
So.
We've got a few more minutes and a few more stories. This one, I think, is the most true thing I've seen in a while. Did you know, and this is true, 74% of survey participants want to buy EVs from a dealership?
That just reminded me of that movie I, Robot, when Will Smith just started sneezing and his auntie goes, "Are you okay?" He goes, "No, I'm allergic to bullshit." Because that's really what this is. I would love to know who did the survey, who commissioned it, and who did they ask.
Yeah.
Because there is no way there's any factual relevance to this. And it's kind of weird when you're looking through this article. It says it keeps repeating the same thing, and I don't know what this means. The survey finds 74 PC of respondents. Is that supposed to be percent?
Yes. This may have been
Okay,
written
so
by an AI. This may have been. I think this was. I think this was written by an AI because there's a lot of really weird stuff. It surveyed 1,289 individuals, of which 88 are EV house owners. So I think this is regurgitated by an AI that doesn't know what it's saying. I really believe that. Is there an author name on it? Well, that's got it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was written by Bhagya
it's
Shri Soni.
And if you go to the bottom, it's an Indian woman. Not that means anything.
Well, it could be a language barrier, but it could, yeah.
Well, okay, tell me what this means.
Showrooms at Choose Places 55 PC? Go ahead.
Miss Sony is a software engineer with soft writing skills. What are soft writing skills? I mean, I don't know. Is that a thing?
Well, she doesn't have language writing skills. So let's see. I think it's just...
Wait, no. I have to. She's been a state-level badminton champion and chess player.
Oh, okay. Well, then, great. So that makes sense. This is all valid. Showrooms at Choose Places 55 PC. Which one of us picked this article out again?
I did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always going to throw a dealership article in.
Right, and I think that's fair and valuable. This is so. Let's
But
see.
this article is all over the place, and people are going to look at that headline and not click on it.
Yeah.
And go, oh, really?
Yeah. Jeff pointed out that she is actually very good at soft writing. So let's see here.
Still, what is that?
Yeah. Speaking of BS. Social media influencers offered $100 to bash Tesla and Musk and autonomous driving. And we have since found out that this is sponsored by a solar home rival who is threatened by Tesla. So there's this huge overriding theme where anything you can do to bash anything Musk, there are endless numbers of moneyed interests who benefit from taking Musk down a peg, and it's exhausting to deal with.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about something like this. First of all, $100, not a lot of money. And then to just spew out a bunch of nonsense that's probably not true, and apparently it doesn't say anything about needs to be truthful.
Oh no, they write it for you.
Oh,
so it won't be truthful. Certainly not to the people saying it. But $100? Are you insane? And they're like, well, this is only for social media influencers. Do you know how small of a channel or account you would need to find to buy influence for $100? And we're talking a 12 to 15 minute video you have to record. Are you insane? That's pennies, man. This was.
You should record one that's complete satire.
Well, again, they give you the script. Oh, just do the whole thing rolling my eyes. I imagine this program has been shut down because it's been outed.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable that people can suck so much. Just
yeah,
it's it's just very disappointing.
Yeah, humans can do terrible things for money or power or fame. Got one last story. Tesla launches CCS adapter for $250. Dollars or bucks. I got cute and I always fumble across the finish line there. Enable drivers to access public chargers. What do you think?
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
$250, not that bad. There's adapters out there that have cost more. The Chatamo adapters were over $500.
Ooh.
Believe it or not. Never bought one. But I like this whole idea. If they were a little bit cheaper, I would actually buy them and put them in all my Teslas, because that way I could more charging options for my EVs. So I'm not going to, not at this point. But it's just more charging options. Plus, when I say that, it's not like they're that far apart. But if you can just be able to stop wherever you want, it just works out a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I would like it from my point because I don't have to go back and charge people for using the Tesla superchargers.
Right. I think you would be wise to buy them if Electrify America, EV Go, and the rest were more reliable, or once Tesla superchargers begin offering CCS plugs at charging stations.
Yeah. And I really wish they'd all get on the same standard.
Yeah.
And the standard where you don't have to run your credit card is the standard I like.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be fine to use a credit card if it was more reliable. If you knew that swiping it once was all it took and you'd be charged once and you wouldn't be. But that is, for now, a dream.
I had a dream that there was one unifying charging standard for all people.
Good. Can the adapter be locked to the car so it isn't stolen? I'm going to go out on a limb and say nope. Nope is my guess on that.
Yeah.
I don't see anything here that would lock it. Oh, did we make it? Did we make it through, Bear?
No.
Yeah.
I died. Regarding that charging adapter, I don't know if you disconnect it if the Tesla port actually holds on to the adapter. It is possible that it might hold on to it. Not 100% sure, but I do think it could easily be stolen, more than likely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're after 5. Any closing thoughts, Bear?
Well, I would love to say thank you to all of my Patreons. All 4 of... No, I got more than 4. But just the nice, tight group of Patreons. I do appreciate the support. It helps us to go out and destroy cars accidentally. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, watch last week's Lucid video where we lost the car on the way to Lucid to record the factory. And we kind of always thought one day something like this is going to happen because of how many miles we were putting on. So if you can support the channel, we would appreciate it. So I'm not asking for a $50,000 donation to replace that car because we did have insurance.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to,
Right.
Yeah.
And, of course, thanks to my patrons as well. Your generosity is what is able to help both of us keep going. I did have a quick comment. Jeff pointed out that he believes it would absolutely hold on to it just like it would the supercharger handle. It would use the same locking mechanism as people find when they try to disconnect your car. If your car is locked, your handle should be locked as well. So maybe it is not as stealable as we thought.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find that out from someone who's going to purchase this, and it's not going to be me. Just not for any reason that I just don't need one. But
Right.
I do think that is a very good thing that Tesla has put that out there, because there are times that I would have liked to use one.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you, Bear, for hanging out with me for the journey. And thanks to everyone for tuning in and for liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. And for those of you checking us out on both channels at Bear's Workshop and My Tesla Weekend / My Tesla Live, the second channel, super good stuff. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you more than Brian does. Just want to be clear on that. It's nothing personal, but we do appreciate you guys being here on his channel and my channel. If you haven't subscribed to one or the other, please do.
Yeah.
Because we all have interesting content and comments.
Yeah, and for a limited time only, we're not charging for subscribers.
Oh yeah, I've actually extended that till the end of the year.
That's
You can
great.
become a subscriber for free.
No charge. That's amazing. All right, well, thanks, guys, and we will talk to you, soon.
All right, thank you everyone. Bye bye.